How to think in English. These 4 stages will make you think in English. This is Thinking in English 2.0, something that is going to take your speaking skills to the next level. Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. So, welcome back to another session of learning English and improving your English speaking skills with me. Today, I'm going to tell you something that is going to transform your speaking, something that everybody wants to achieve. That is to think in English. How to think in English from 0 to advanced, from beginner to advanced. We have already covered a lesson on this. How to think in English. You can consider this to be level 2 of thinking in English, the next level. How to reach that advanced level of thinking in English where it is going to contribute a lot to your speaking fluency. You'll be able to speak for longer periods. You'll be able to speak so fluently and clearly because you're able to think in English. So, are you all ready for this? I'm Ava, your certified English language tutor, certified by the University of Cambridge, UK. And before beginning, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the lessons that I've posted for you on this channel. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. Now, coming back to today's lesson, How to Think in English 2.0. Now, this 2.0 is, like I've told you, the next level. What we're supposed to do this time is we have 4 stages, a total of 4 stages, to think in English. Now we are going to go into a deeper level of thinking so that we are able to train our minds to become comfortable in English and to adopt English a little more. Now, this is something that is going to help you speak a lot because each and every stage is crucial. You can consider this the advanced level of thinking in English. That is the ultimate way to become fluent in the English language. Let's begin with all the 4 stages of thinking in English because when you think in English, you're able to speak fluently. That lag, that gap that you experience while translating or while forming sentences in English in your mind, gets eradicated. There is no gap, there is no lag because it is coming to you naturally. It's a natural and automatic process in your mind because you've already practiced thinking in English a lot. You know how to do it. Once you master it, you'll be able to speak fluently. Why? Because everything is right there at the back of your mind, just like it would be with your native language. So, are you ready? The 4 important stages. Let's begin with them. Stage number 1. Well, stage number 1 is to think in verbs. To think in verbs, not just words. Not just a random word. No, to think in verbs. That's very important. To be thinking in verbs is crucial because if we want to describe something, what is happening around us, it's all actions. A verb is an action word. Now, action is something that is meaningful. If you are just telling a meaningful word to somebody, a person would be able to understand something out of it. So, this is very important for you. If you look around yourself, it's all verb actions, right? Actions that mean something. So you have to think in verbs. You can do this anytime, anywhere. If you're sitting in a metro, you can do it. If you're at a traffic light, for example, and you have a minute or 2 to yourself, you can just look around and practice at that time. If you're going in your own car, if you're in a park, at that time, you can just sit, relax, and do this particular activity. You can observe your surroundings anytime, anywhere. So, whenever you're taking up this thinking in verbs, you can do it. You can sit on the terrace of your house. You can do it anywhere where some action is going on. The thing is that this is not something that you might be able to do while sitting inside your home. If you're doing it at home, then you need some kind of picture, some kind of visual aid to support your thinking. Because how are you going to think in action when there is a picture in front of your eyes? When there is a particular picture or a particular scene, that means it's a situation. Something is going on in that particular picture because a picture captures a moment and it speaks volumes. So, you have to do that. You have to just take that picture up. Any picture. If you want to do it alone, if you want to do it at your home, you can do this particular thing. Take up a picture, look closely, and try to identify the actions, the verbs. If you are doing this somewhere where you're in an open surrounding, a park, any public place, public transport, then you have a lot of verbs that you can come up with. If you observe anything around you, you might come across some verbs like walk, talk, eat. A person might be eating something. Walk, talk, eat, discuss, gossip, gossiping. To gossip is actually a verb. Converse. Converse is a verb, an advanced verb. Play, children might be playing. To sell, buy, a person might be selling something. Another person might be buying something from that person. So, you have to think in verbs. As many verbs as possible. Carry, to carry, is a verb. A person might be carrying something from somewhere to somewhere. That means carry. Check, to check. Some person might be checking out something. Talk, text. To text somebody, texting, text, talk, read. A person might be reading, sing, listen. There are so many things going on around, so much that you can describe using just verbs. So, you have to think in verbs, action words, the verbs. That's very important. And this is stage number 1. Now, stage number 2. Stage number 2 is to think in nouns. That means naming words, words that name something. You have to think in nouns because if you look at it, when you're forming any sentence, you are actually talking about something in that particular sentence. You always have a subject, that means a noun, a naming word. So nouns are very important, and if you can just point out nouns all around you in English, that means half of your work is already done. Because you have already thought in verbs, the actions that are going on around you, that means the next steps, which we are going to come to in stages number 3 and 4, are going to be really for you. Now in stage number 2, you have to think in nouns. Look closely around yourself. What nouns can you actually point out? For example, right now in my surroundings, the nouns that I can say are journal, table, laptop, or I can say MacBook. Laptop is going to be a common noun. MacBook is going to be its proper noun because this particular laptop is a MacBook, right? So, MacBook. Okay, I can say camera. I can say microphone. I'm having a microphone here. Microphone, ring, books, bookshelf, flowers, flower pot. As many nouns as you can. You have to name all the objects. Lights. There are lights behind me. Lights. So I can name as many objects as I want. Chair. I'm sitting on a chair. So chair. As many objects as you can name, you have to name them. Wristwatch. Oh. As soon as I'm coming up with a new noun, because now the process has begun in my mind, I'm just adding it. I keep on adding things to the particular list, and that is how you are going to do it too. Add things to that list. Think in nouns. Think about everything that is there around you. Okay? So you can say a girl, a boy, two girls. You can say children. Think about that too. Think about it. That's okay. That's very common, right? But think about them when you include them in the picture. Only then you'll be able to form sentences on it. So, you have to include everything in the picture that is around you. Everything. Now, this is something that you can also do at home, naming nouns around yourself. Like right now, I just named so many nouns around myself, and you do not even need a picture for this. So this is something that you can do anytime, anywhere, even at your home, at a public place, in your office, in your college. You can sit and practice for 5 minutes straight thinking about it. Think in your mind. Think about it in your mind. And if you're sitting alone and there's nobody around you, you can speak them out loud too. That will help you solidify the thoughts that you're having. So it's going to help you a lot. Think in nouns because there are so many objects around you, and everything has a name to it. Now, stage number 3 is to think in sentences. Think in sentences. You have to think in sentences. You can think about what sentences you would form with everything that is going on around you, the nouns, the verbs. Now is the time to connect them, and you can form individual sentences. You don't have to form paragraphs after paragraphs. No, individual sentences. Short sentences, a bit longer sentences too. So you have to form individual sentences. For example, what I can say is that there's a pink journal kept beside a pen. The book is kept on top of a table. The table is white in color. There is a laptop on the table. So, I'm forming small sentences. I'm not forming any kind of complex sentences here. As you can see, no complex sentences, nothing. Short sentences that are like whatever is around you. You have to form short sentences. You name the words, the nouns. Now form sentences using them. For example, there is a bookshelf behind me. There are so many books in the bookshelf. There is a beautiful flower pot kept behind me. So the kind of nouns that I've used, I am using them in almost all the sentences, right? This is how you're going to form the sentences. Short. Nothing more, nothing big, nothing complex. No. Short sentences, so that you can use everything. You know, now weave your thoughts together. First, you have taken up the verbs. You have taken up the nouns. Now you're trying to weave them together. So, listen. Today we're going to be looking at how to practice speaking English when you are alone at home. It's not so easy for many people, right? Because maybe you don't have any native English speakers in your city. Maybe there are no tourists that you can go and chat with. Maybe there are no groups locally where you can go chat and speak English. And maybe you're not ready to go on Skype and try to find some random English person to chat with, somebody you don't know. I mean, that can be quite hard, especially if you're a little bit shy, like me. So, what I want to do today is share with you lots of ideas about how you can practice speaking when you're on your own at home. Alone, right? Good. Now, if you do know me, you may be thinking, what's that strange orange block over there? That wasn't there before. True, it's my meditating mat. Sometimes I sit and meditate, sometimes I don't. I sit on the wall. I'm just tidying at the moment, so I couldn't find a place to put it. So right now it's over there. Okay, the truth about speaking is that, yes, you can watch videos, you can watch films, you can listen to podcasts. All of that is great. But at some point, you need to start speaking. You can speak on your own, but also later, you'll need to start interacting and practicing speaking with people. But that's not always easy to do. So right now, today, I'm going to focus on some really practical, simple activities you can do when you're on your own at home to start practicing speaking. And just to add, this video is actually sponsored by me. My is a fantastic online platform for you to learn and practice English. They have native English-speaking teachers you can choose anytime, any teacher. It's really flexible and easy. And if you are studying IELTS, they do have online IELTS courses that you can follow, right? Lots of materials, lots of ideas. So, a big thank you to me. Thank you guys for sponsoring the video. Also, if you are new to for first-time users, you can get a discount. Just use the code. It's down here below. You can get a discount on all of their plans, whether they are monthly, 3-monthly, or for the year. Great. More about that later. But right now, let's get into these ideas about practicing speaking English. So the first technique is called speak into the mirror. This is really useful, but it's really simple, right? It's easy because you can do this first thing in the morning when you're brushing your teeth. Or, well, you can't speak and brush your teeth at the same time, but just before you brush your teeth and in the evening before going to bed when you wash your face. What do you mean you don't wash your face in the evening? Why not? My mother always told me to make sure I wash my face, clean behind my ears, wash my neck, scrub my neck. Yeah, wash your face before you go to bed. It takes all the dust and pollution off your face, apparently. Anyway, that's a great time that you can do it. And this is good because the key to learning and preparing for it is habit, right? If you can attach your learning to an existing habit, like brushing your teeth or washing your face, then it makes it much easier. Now, I used to do this when I was learning as a child. In the morning, after brushing my teeth, I would just have a few sentences talking about what I'm going to do today, in the future. Right? So, today I'm going to go to the park. I need to go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy some vegetables. I'm meeting Tom at 7 o'clock. I might go to the cinema. All in the future. Brilliant. And then at the end of the day, you can talk about what you did or what you have done. Right? Today I went to the park. I played football. I went shopping. In the end, I've done a lot. It has been a good day. Right? Past tense, present perfect as well. So you can see it's actually great to practice different tenses. It's a bit like writing your diary at the end of the day, which is also a great way to practice writing. But this is speaking in front of the mirror. It's nice. It's reflective learning in many ways. Okay, moving on. The next one I call collocation fun. Collocations are words that are often used together, right? Like we talk about heavy rain. Heavy rain in English, we don't say big rain, we say heavy rain. Our collocations? Collocation fun is where we're going to practice speaking using a very common teaching method, really based on the task-based approach to teaching. It's based on prepare, practice, present. So, we'll be preparing the words, the collocations, practicing sentences, and then presenting a whole talk. Now, the reason I suggest doing this in front of the mirror is that there are great benefits to talking to a mirror, right? First of all, mirrors don't answer back like young children or wives. But apart from that, when you're speaking in the mirror, you can look at your mouth and see the kind of movements that you're making, which is great. It's useful for pronunciation. You can also check your body language. You may be surprised to see that you speak like that without ever moving your arms, or that you suddenly realize you're doing this all the time. That's fine. But being aware of your body language can be quite good. Also, you feel like you're talking to someone, right? Many people I know, and this happened to me, practiced for a long time with a book, and when I went to speak to somebody in the foreign language, it was like, oh my God. But practicing with the mirror, you've gotten used to a face in front of you, right? So it does help. So let's look then at prepare, practice, and present. Preparing. What I suggest you do here is take a topic. A recent topic we were studying in the live lessons was science, right? And then get some collocations. You can use your course book if you want. You can get onto the internet. You can go to this rather nifty little website called My Speaking Academy. In here, right, you have got free live lessons. You can go through the free live lessons, and there is a recent one on science, so you can just download the document. Yeah, we want to download that and then find in there all the collocations. Look, you've got the notes here, and here you've got collocations, you've got idioms, you've got loads of stuff. What I would do is take maybe 6 or 7 collocations or idioms, like exact science. It's not rocket science. To be on the same wavelength. That's the preparation, right? That's step 1. Step 2 is, in front of the mirror, just make a sentence with it, right? Exact science. Well, parenting, bringing up children, is not an exact science. Cooking is not an exact science. Frying an egg? It's not rocket science. It's actually quite easy, right? And then I'm just practicing sentences here. In the end, after practice, present. I take one of the old Part 2 questions around science, maybe something like, describe an area of science you're interested in, and then start to talk about it for maybe a minute, trying, if possible, to use some of these phrases and sentences, right? So, you may say something like this. Describe an area of science you're interested in. Well, okay, I guess an area I'm interested in is cooking. I know it's not an exact science, but I guess it's a branch of science, a branch of food science, maybe, right? And I'm interested in the science behind cooking. I think it's very interesting. I know with cooking, when you heat things up, they change. And when you mix different things, like sugar and vinegar, you get different levels of acidity and chemical reactions happen. So I think it's really interesting, right? I think chefs and scientists are really on the same wavelength because they're trying to experiment and discover new things, whether it's cooking or new dishes, things like that. I know cooking isn't rocket science, but I am interested in how it works. So yes, although it's not a hard science, I think it's an interesting area of science for me. So, you can see what I'm doing here is not giving a perfect Part 2 answer. I'm just trying to activate and practice some of these expressions that I've been learning, and that's it, really. So that's it. It's great because that preparing the collocations, practicing the sentences, and then presenting a talk is a really tried and tested method. Do it in front of the mirror. It's great. You get everything. You get the contact with somebody, but you can see yourself. You can monitor yourself. It's really effective. Collocation fun. Great. I want to go and do it. It sounds like so much fun. I'm going to do it again right now. I'll be back in a moment. Next up is practice with short audios. Now, I'm a big fan of extensive listening, right? Listening to podcasts and films, that's great. But when it comes to speaking, I think short audios are much better. They are bite-sized chunks, they're easy to use, and your concentration is shorter for shorter periods of time. Our collocations? Collocation fun is where we're going to practice speaking using a very common teaching method, really based on the task-based approach to teaching. It's based on prepare, practice, present. So, we'll be preparing the words, the collocations, practicing sentences, and then presenting a whole talk. Now, the reason I suggest doing this in front of the mirror is that there are great benefits to talking to a mirror, right? First of all, mirrors don't answer back like young children or wives, but apart from that, when you're speaking in the mirror, you can look at your mouth and see the kind of movements that you're making, which is great. It's useful for pronunciation. You can also check your body language. You may be surprised to see that you speak like that without ever moving your arms, or that you suddenly realize you're doing this all the time. That's fine. But being aware of your body language can be quite good. Also, you feel like you're talking to someone, right? Many people I know, and this happened to me, practiced for a long time with a book, and when I went to speak to somebody in the foreign language, it was like, oh my God. But practicing with the mirror, you've gotten used to a face in front of you, right? So it does help. So let's look then at prepare, practice, and present. Preparing. What I suggest you do here is take a topic. A recent topic we were studying in the live lessons was science, right? And then get some collocations. You can use your course book if you want. You can get onto the internet. You can go to this rather nifty little website called My Speaking Academy. In here, right, you have got free live lessons. You can go through the free live lessons, and there is a recent one on science. So you can just download the document. Yeah, we want to download that, and then find in there all the collocations. Look, you've got the notes here, and here you've got collocations, you've got idioms, you've got loads of stuff. What I would do is take maybe 6 or 7 collocations or idioms like exact science, it's not rocket science, to be on the same wavelength. That's the preparation, right? That's step 1. Step 2 is in front of the mirror, just make a sentence with it, right? Exact science. Well, parenting, bringing up children, is not an exact science. Cooking is not an exact science. Frying an egg, it's not rocket science. It's actually quite easy, right? And then I'm just practicing sentences here. In the end, after practice, present. I take one of the old Part 2 questions around science, maybe something like, describe an area of science you're interested in, and then start to talk about it for maybe a minute, trying, if possible, to use some of these phrases and sentences, right? So you may say something like this. Describe an area of science you're interested in. Well, okay, I guess an area I'm interested in is cooking. I know it's not an exact science, but I guess it's a branch of science. A branch of food science, maybe, right? And I'm interested in the science behind cooking. I think it's very interesting. I know with cooking, when you heat things up, they change, and when you mix different things like sugar and vinegar, you get different levels of acidity, and chemical reactions happen. So I think it's really interesting, right? I think chefs and scientists are really on the same wavelength because they're trying to experiment and discover new things, whether it's cooking or new dishes, things like that. I know cooking isn't rocket science, but I am interested in how it works. So yes, although it's not a hard science, I think it's an interesting area of science for me. So you can see what I'm doing here is not giving a perfect part 2 answer. I'm just trying to activate and practice some of these expressions that I've been learning, and that's it really. So that's it. It's great, because preparing the collocations, practicing the sentences, and then presenting a talk is a really tried and tested method. Do it in front of the mirror. It's great. You get everything. You get the contact with somebody, but you can see yourself. You can monitor yourself. It's really effective. Collocation fun. Great. I want to go and do it. It sounds like so much fun. I'm going to do it again right now. I'll be back in a moment. Next up is practice with short audios. Now, I'm a big fan of extensive listening, right? Listening to podcasts and films, that's great. But when it comes to speaking, I think short audios are much better. They are bite-sized chunks. They're easy to use, and your concentration is shorter for shorter periods of time. Are collocations? Collocation fun is where we're going to practice speaking using a very common instructional method, really based on the task-based approach to teaching. It's based on prepare, practice, present. So we'll be preparing the vocabulary, the collocations, practicing sentences, and then delivering a whole talk. Now, the reason I recommend doing this in front of a mirror is that there are great advantages to talking to a mirror. First of all, mirrors don't respond back like young children or spouses. But apart from that, when you're speaking in the mirror, you can observe your mouth and see the types of movements that you're making, which is excellent. It's helpful for pronunciation. You can also assess your body language. You may be surprised to see that you speak like that without ever moving your arms, or that you suddenly realize you're doing this all the time. That's fine, but being aware of your body language can be quite beneficial. Additionally, you feel like you're conversing with someone, right? Many individuals I know, and this happened to me, practiced for a long time with a book. And when I went to converse with someone in the foreign language, it was like, oh my God. But practicing with the mirror, you've gotten accustomed to a face in front of you, right? So it does assist. So, let's look then at prepare, practice, and present. Preparing. What I suggest you do here is select a topic. A recent topic we were studying in the live lessons was science, right? And then gather some collocations. You can use your course book if you wish. You can get onto the internet. You can go to this rather nifty little website called My Speaking Academy. In here, you have access to free live lessons. You can go through the free live lessons, and there is a recent one on science. So you can just download the document. Yeah, we want to download that and then find in there all the collocations. Look, you've got the notes here, and here you've got collocations, you've got idioms, you've got plenty of material. What I would do is take maybe 6 or 7 collocations or idioms like exact science. It's not rocket science. To be on the same wavelength. That's the preparation, right? That's step 1. Step 2 is, in front of the mirror, just create a sentence with it. Right? Exact science. Well, parenting, raising children, is not an exact science. Cooking is not an exact science. Frying an egg, it's not rocket science, it's actually quite simple, right? And then I'm just practicing sentences here. In the end, after practice, present. I take one of the old Part 2 questions around science, maybe something like, describe an area of science you're interested in, and then start to speak about it for maybe a minute, trying, if possible, to utilize some of these phrases and sentences. So you may say something like this. Describe an area of science you're interested in. Well, okay, I suppose an area I'm intrigued by is cooking. I know it's not an exact science, but I guess it's a branch of science, a branch of food science, perhaps. And I'm curious about the science behind cooking. I think it's very fascinating. I know with cooking, when you heat things up, they change. And when you combine different things like sugar and vinegar, you get different levels of acidity and chemical reactions occur. So, I think it's really captivating. I believe chefs and scientists are truly on the same wavelength because they're trying to experiment and discover new things, whether it's cooking or new dishes, things like that. I know cooking isn't rocket science, but I am interested in how it functions. So yes, although it's not a hard science, I think it's an intriguing area of science for me. So you can see what I'm doing here is not giving a perfect Part 2 response. I'm just trying to activate and practice some of these expressions that I've been learning, and that's it, really. It's great, because preparing the collocations, practicing the sentences, and then delivering a talk is a really tried and tested method. Do it in front of the mirror. It's excellent. You get everything. You get the interaction with someone, but you can see yourself. You can monitor yourself. It's really effective. Collocation fun. Fantastic. I want to go and do it. It sounds like so much fun. I'm going to do it again right now. I'll be back in a moment. Next up is practice with short audios. Now, I'm a big fan of extensive listening. Listening to podcasts and films. That's wonderful. But when it comes to speaking, I think short audios are much more effective. They are bite-sized portions, they're easy to use, and your focus is shorter for shorter periods of time. You may recognize him from Mr. Bean, but he embodies a multitude of characters, and one of his recent roles is Johnny English, right? Let's take a look at Johnny English. He's the key to this. I'm not sure. Let me clarify that for you. You haven't, right? So it's about adopting the character, trying to mimic the voice and the entire body language. And you become that character. You can do this when you're practicing speaking on your own. You probably don't want to do it while you're out shopping or talking to foreigners. Hello. They might think you're Johnny English or that you've lost your mind. But when you're having fun at home, it can be a fantastic way to practice. So that's it. Imitate your favorite English-speaking actor. The next suggestion is to send audio messages. Now, when you're using platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, or other social media with chat features, we often send text messages. You probably send them in your native language, but consider sending them in English. Go a step further and send an audio message instead of a written one, because that will help you practice your English. You can do this if you have friends who speak English or family members. You can have some fun exchanging messages in English or any other language. We do this sometimes, and it can be quite enjoyable. The great thing about sending audio messages is that it's not like a live phone conversation where there's immediate pressure. You have time to prepare. Think about what you want to say, record it. And if you don't like it, you can delete it and record it again. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all about practice, not perfection. So, sending audio messages is an excellent way to practice. Next up is to imitate the English speaker. Now, I'm sure most people can imagine or know how English speakers sound when they speak your language. If you've encountered tourists or met people from other countries who speak your language, how do English speakers communicate in your language? Take that sound, that accent, and start using it. For example, let's say I'm Scottish. Hola, Española, Miguel, for instance. Right? I'm thinking, how do English speakers speak Scottish? They don't speak it perfectly. So Miguel. They speak with an English accent. So the Scottish speaker would attempt to speak Scottish with the English accent, right? Then switch to English while maintaining that accent. Hola, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Can you hear that? The pronunciation and accent flow seamlessly, and suddenly my English sounds distinctly English. It sounds great. That's an example with Scottish, but you could apply this with any other language. Think about how English speakers pronounce your language. Then switch to English while keeping that UK accent. It can be very useful and enjoyable. Now, the next idea is shadowing. Of course, a shadow is what you see on the ground behind you when the sun shines down. It's a shape that mirrors you. The sun casts a shadow, and you leave a shadow. To shadow someone means to closely follow them. If I shadow you, I'm trailing right behind you. Sometimes detectives will shadow suspicious individuals. In language learning, when we shadow someone, it means we're closely repeating them. Find a short audio clip and listen for about a minute, then repeat almost simultaneously with the voice, but just a fraction of a second behind. You're right behind them, closely following their speech. Do not wait for the sentence to end before you repeat. This technique is different. It's about staying very close and helps you pick up on word stress and intonation. Focusing on those two aspects can significantly enhance your speaking skills. Let me demonstrate. I've chosen a brief audio clip for us. First, I recommend listening to the minute completely so you understand the content. I've already done that because I'm well prepared. Then for the second listen, engage in shadowing. Let me show you how closely we will follow it. I'll use my phone so you can hear properly. So, Jeremy, let's get into it. Movies, music, and the forms of artwork that enrich our lives. This topic was proposed by one of our listeners, and she sent us an email which I will share. Okay, I think you get the idea. So, it's different from simply waiting, listening, and repeating. It's about shadowing, following closely. At first, it can be quite challenging, but the more you practice, the more you'll notice word stress, intonation, and even accent. I noticed I was picking up a bit of a Canadian accent. It's all part of the process. That is shadowing. Let's move on. Now that we've covered shadowing, let's look at responding. What is responding? Well, to put it very simply, responding means you hear a question, you form an idea, and you provide an answer. The biggest challenge students face is that they practice answering questions they already know. They prepare for specific questions and rehearse their responses. But what happens in the exam? Surprise! Surprise! In Part 3, you get unexpected questions that you weren't ready for. For instance, what do you think of globalization? So what do you do? First of all, have something to say about globalization. Make sure you've done some research on the topic to gather ideas. If you're unsure, you can always say, "Oh, I haven't thought about that. Let me see." Use a filler to buy yourself some time. However, the most crucial thing is that, in your practice, you should not only look at specific topics, but also practice responding to unexpected questions. In Part 3 of the exam, many students tell me they don't have any ideas. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't expecting that. I just couldn't articulate my thoughts. So, you need to practice responding to questions you've never encountered before. It might feel a bit stressful, but as I mentioned earlier, a bit of pressure can be beneficial during your practice. You can do this effectively with a speaking partner. One of you can say, "I'm going to bring 5 questions for our next session, and you won't know what they are." And the other person does the same. When you come together, ask each other these surprise questions. It's shocking at first, but it's like hitting the gym. With consistent practice, you build up your skills. If you don't have a speaking partner, you can practice on my YouTube channel. At the very bottom, you'll see 2 titled Responding, Part 1 and Part 3. I've recorded several questions with pauses for you to answer, followed by the next question. For instance, if you go into Part 1 and press the shuffle button, the questions will come at you randomly. Let me play it for you, and you'll see how it works. Do you like your hometown? Oh, that's a good question. Do I like my hometown? Yeah. I think my hometown, Manchester, which is in the north of England, is a very appealing place. There are many restaurants and shops. It attracts quite a few tourists who come to see the industrial landscape and the famous football pitches. We have a renowned football team called Manchester United. Do tourists like to visit your hometown? Yes, there are many tourists who come to visit my hometown. You see how it works? It automatically asks the next question, allowing me to practice responding without knowing what's coming next. You can practice this method or even create your own questions on your YouTube channel. Don't worry about people finding it. They rarely do. Just post some questions with pauses for answers, shuffle them, and Bob's your uncle. Fantastic. The next suggestion is to describe what you are doing. Many teachers recommend this as a way to think in English. For instance, when you're out in a park, describe what you observe. I suggest starting with single words. So, you're in the park and see, for example, bicycle, person, path, tree, bag, woman, phone. You're using single words at first. As you walk around the park, try to create collocations or little chunks of language. For instance, riding a bike, a long path, a cluster of trees, the woman glued to her phone. You might describe a scene like having a picnic and then move on to crafting sentences. This is similar to what we discussed earlier regarding the prepare, practice, present approach. You transition from individual words to collocations and then to full sentences. For example, "Oh, there's a man strolling in the park. There's a woman riding a bike and there are plenty of trees. Look, there's a woman glued to her phone and she seems like she's about to have a picnic." You can keep going like this, and it's a great practice method that can be applied anywhere, at home, in shops, or wherever you find yourself. Now you might think, but I can't just walk around talking to myself. People will think I'm crazy. Well, yes and no. Nowadays, people are often on their phones, chatting away. For example, "Hello? Yeah, John. I'm in the park. It's lovely here. There's a man walking over there and a woman riding a bicycle. How about you?" It's perfectly normal to be talking out loud in public. If you're not comfortable with that, you could pretend to be someone like Johnny English, a spy. You could say, "Hello, yes, there's a man walking along the path, a woman on a bicycle, and I think there's a woman glued to her phone. She's about to have a picnic, calling the police. Get Johnny English." Laughter. Pretending to be a spy can be a lot of fun, but the key is to speak out loud, transitioning from words to collocations to complete sentences. You can practice at home, too. In these times, getting fresh air can be challenging, but if you have a mask, you could speak behind it so no one would know. Alternatively, just stay home and practice. Next, consider singing in English. Find a song you enjoy and get the lyrics to sing along. This is a fantastic way to improve because you'll pick up on melody, intonation, connected speech, contractions, and weak sounds, all essential pronunciation features that come through strongly in songs. It's a powerful method for practice. Don't worry if you're out of tune. I'm definitely not a good singer, but that doesn't stop me from belting it out in the shower or anywhere else because I enjoy it. If you're not sure where to start, check out. It offers plenty of free content, and you can have some fun with it. Let me briefly show you how it works. You can use the app, which is probably the best option, but here's how it looks on the web. You can choose any song. Most of them come from YouTube. Let's take Perfect by Ed Sheeran. You can choose a game mode, and let's say I'm at an intermediate level. Here, you'll fill in the missing words as part of a game. See how it stops if I don't answer in time? You get the idea. It's a fun way to practice singing. Next up are tongue twisters. These are phrases that are tricky to say and focus on pronunciation. They can be a lot of fun and help you concentrate on specific sounds. The idea is to repeat each tongue twister 3 or 4 times until you feel more fluent. It's like a workout for your mouth, allowing you to use different muscles compared to your native language, which you may not be exercising enough. For example, try saying, "The ragged rascal ran around the ragged rock." It's great for practicing your R sounds. Say it 2 or 3 times. "The ragged rascal ran around the ragged rock." Or how about, "She sells seashells by the seashore." It's better to attempt it without reading, so you can focus on producing the correct sounds. You can create your own tongue twisters too. Identify the consonants or vowels you struggle with, such as, "Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers," or simply, "Peter picked a plump plum." Make it fun and creative. This is an excellent way to enhance your pronunciation. Now let's practice idioms using yeses. an amazing website that's very user-friendly. It's similar to YouTube, but specifically designed, sure. Yeses provides a variety of video clips that showcase the idiom you've entered, allowing you to practice by imitating the intonation, sounds, and gaining context for the idiom, which is always beneficial. Let's see how it functions. You input a word or expression. For example, let's consider the idiom, pull your socks up, which means to improve or to work harder. My teacher would often say, "Come on, Mr. O'Hare, it's time to pull your socks up." If we want to observe this idiom in various contexts, you'll be shown several clips. For instance, you had to pull your socks up, and you had to pull your socks up with an American accent. You can hear the phrases repetitively, which is great for practice and contextual understanding. You can explore more examples by clicking through, such as pull up your socks, or pull yourself together and put down the phone. This platform allows you to rewind, control the audio, and check out different instances, making it a useful tool for vocabulary and particularly idioms, which many students find challenging to use naturally. Any work you do on idiom practice will definitely be beneficial. Next, let's discuss the importance of immersing yourself in English. Research shows that the more you immerse yourself, the more you'll learn. I recommend conducting a lifestyle audit. An audit is essentially a review or checklist. Consider where you use English versus your native language. Think about your phone and computer settings. Are they in English or your mother tongue? When you text, engage on Facebook, listen to podcasts, watch movies, or read books, how much of that is in English? What can you change to enhance your immersion in the language? Much of this is passive rather than active speaking, providing you with opportunities to listen, read, and observe more English. In some cases, like messaging or using your phone, you can actively use English too. Now let's move on to two significant aspects, goals and habits. First, regarding goals, set yourself short-term objectives for speaking English. If you simply think, "I'll keep practicing," it's often too vague to maintain motivation. Many people respond well to frameworks, restrictions, and clear paths. For instance, set a goal like, "For the next 4 weeks, I'll speak English every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 27 minutes. This approach is beneficial because it's measurable. You can check off your progress, and seeing your achievements motivates you to continue. James Clear, a well-known author, discusses atomic habits, emphasizing breaking down larger goals into smaller, more manageable ones. Instead of committing to an hour every day for 6 months, try saying, "For the next week, I'll practice for just 5 minutes a day." Setting simple goals sets you up for success. On those days when you feel exhausted or unmotivated, there's a helpful strategy called the 1-minute trick. If you've promised yourself to practice for 10 minutes but find you can't due to distractions or fatigue, tell yourself, "Okay, I'll just take 1 minute to practice." To improve your English speaking skills, try the 1-minute trick. Instead of committing to a longer practice session, start with just 1 minute. This approach helps reduce pressure and often leads to longer sessions once you get started. Pair this with establishing consistent habits, like practicing at the same place and time each day. For instance, you could designate 12 a.m. as your English time while brushing your teeth, using that moment to speak about your plans for the day. This consistency makes it easier to build a routine. Finally, consider joining a community. Speaking alone can feel isolating, and connecting with others can provide motivation. Even if you're practicing alone at home, maintaining some connection to a community can be incredibly motivating. Engaging with others, whether through reading, writing, or typing, helps reinforce your learning. In some communities, members even record themselves speaking, which can be beneficial. The key is to share your experiences and progress with others. This social aspect can greatly enhance your confidence. Remember, the more you practice speaking, the more self-assured you'll become, preparing you effectively for tests like the IELTS. Interacting with others can also help you find a speaking partner or a teacher, providing valuable opportunities for further practice even if you're practicing alone at home, maintaining some connection to a community can be incredibly motivating. Engaging with others, whether through reading, writing, or typing, helps reinforce your learning. In some communities, members even record themselves speaking, which can be beneficial. The key is to share your experiences and progress with others. This social aspect can greatly enhance your confidence. Remember, the more you practice speaking, the more self-assured you'll become, preparing you effectively for tests like the IELTS. Interacting with others can also help you find a speaking partner or a teacher, providing valuable opportunities for further practice and improvement. The next stage, stage number 4, is the final stage, and that is something that's very important. Let's move to that now. Stage number 4 is to think in paragraphs, or maybe to describe everything in a single attempt. To think in a paragraph is to describe everything around you in a single attempt. No short sentences, no individual sentences. You have to form a kind of paragraph. Okay? You are not talking about individual things and forming different sentences. You are taking everything up all together, as if you are describing your surroundings, as if you're telling a story. If you're looking at a picture, you can tell a story. You have to do that. Now, what you have done is you have taken up nouns and verbs, woven them into sentences. Your sentences are your threads. And now is the time to form that complete net through those threads. Now these threads are going to be woven into a complete net. A complete net. You can say cloth. Basically, we are going to complete the picture of this thinking process. The final step, the final product, is to think completely in English. That is our final product. And that is what we are doing. So, to think in paragraphs, that is very important, extremely important. But because you have done everything that I already told you in the 3 steps, you will find it possible to think in paragraphs. It'll be easier for you if you're following all the 3 steps. It will be for you to think in paragraphs too, because now you've trained your brain. Your brain has consumed a lot of information. Your brain has a lot of stuff with it. If you had not followed the first step, second stage, third stage, and directly you were to describe your surroundings in one go in English, that would be a bit difficult because you might run out of sentences, run out of thoughts, of words. What to say now, what to describe. But because you have analyzed everything, your brain has a lot. Lots of English stuff to describe in English right now related to your surroundings. This means it increases your English speaking capacity. You'll be able to speak more about your surroundings. You'll be able to speak for a longer time. You'll be able to speak fluently too. So let's do a demo, okay? Okay, let's do a demo on this too. So if you have to form a paragraph, what I can say is, there is a book kept beside a pen, and they are lying on top of a table. I'm working on a MacBook, and I'm doing my work quite seriously. There is a camera in front of me, which is helping me shoot this particular video. I'm sitting in front of a bookshelf. There are so many books in the bookshelf, out of which most of them are my favorite novels, my favorite books. I love to read them a lot. There are so many lights surrounding me, which help create a perfect working environment for me. So, this is how you can describe your surroundings. What is going on? Weave everything into a paragraph, and that is the final step, the final stage, to think in English. So that you can speak English absolutely fluently, so that this thinking process can become for you, you need to practice it. This will not come to you suddenly or just like that. You practice it, and you will see improvement. So if you practice, you will see improvement. You will see progress. That is what we want to achieve, to be able to do it naturally. So in order to do it naturally, first, you have to make efforts. Take up everything that I've told you today. Take up this technique, all the 4 stages, and you'll see a huge difference. These 4 stages will make you think in English. This is Thinking in English 2.0, something that is going to take your speaking skills to the next level. So, take up this technique and start thinking in English. That's it for today. Do not forget to check out the other lessons in our Thinking in English series. There are various lessons where I'm giving you demos and techniques, so go check out the lessons now. I'm going to meet you again in a new lesson. Till then, everybody, take care. Bye. Thanks for joining me today on my English channel. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated with all our latest videos. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Happy learning, everyone!